we deep dive Season 2, Episode 13 with Grant Cardone on Undercover Billionaire. Let's dive into it. What's going on, guys? My name is William Dauria for meeting for the very first time. This channel is all about real estate investing for passive income, and we cover great entrepreneurs and real estate investors such as Grant Cardone. Day 89, Grant meets with Matt at the new building. It's totally under construction still, with the finishing touches just being added though. So basically they're like the tail end of this, and Grant's like, look, we just need to get the bulk of the stuff taken care of, so like literally tomorrow when the evaluator comes in, we kind of look like we're already ready to go. And you know how you do it, like extra stuff, just shove it in that closet, just like that's kind of where they're at. They just want to make it look good as possible for the evaluator, so when he comes in, they have a good shot at possibly hitting that $1 million valuation. Now, Grant does say that he does not feel like, as of right then and there, he has the contracts to actually make his $1 million valuation yet, but he did say this: I want to land one more deal before the 90 days. So him and Matt go to see one of Matt's old friends, and he is the owner of one of the largest construction, actually roofing company, if I recall correctly, in Pueblo, and they go to sit down with him, and it goes like this. So Grant's like, hey bud, I know you're a roofer, I know you do great work, do you have any online presence? And the guy's like, well, not a whole lot. And he's like, we'll do Facebook, we'll do LinkedIn, we'll do Twitter, we'll do all the marketing stuff, right? And he goes, it's only $10,000. And the roofer's like, golly, $10,000 a month? He goes, yeah, it's only for 12 months too. And the roofer's like, good gosh. But he thought about it, and Grant's like, look, this is what we can do for the business. Check this out. And he goes, tell him like, look, we're going to advertise with this many videos. We're going to break it up to a bunch of little videos. We're going to hit every single day or every other day online. We are going to do what you absolutely won't do, can't do, don't want to do. We'll take care of it all. How's all this sound? And eventually they actually get a contract right then and there, the day before the 90 days. And it's for $10,000 a month, which is actually $120,000 worth of contracts. $10,000 a month times 12, $120,000. So that's $120,000 closer to his $1 million valuation. As of then, he is officially on client number 5. And you might be asking, well, what about Matt? Is he going to invest? He absolutely does. He signs a contract and pays Wake Up Pueblo the $10,000 a month for the mattress company, and also $10,000 a month for the gym company as well. So there is 6 and 7 contracts there. So that is an additional $120,000 plus $120,000. There's additional $240,000 just off of Matt's contribution alone. Day 90. This is the day everybody's been waiting for, okay? So Grant actually wakes up angry, right? He doesn't want to actually reveal himself, and he has so much anxiety behind telling the people that he's been lying to this whole time his real name. And he feels like if his evaluation comes back under the $1 million, he feels like he'll actually have failed the Grant Cardone name and brand. He said out of the 35 years he's been in business building his brand, he's never, ever had to lie anything like this before. Terry finally finished the mural on the outside of the building, and I didn't know this because it was half done last time. It's the entire building, like the whole side of the building, like from bottom to top and like wide. Like this thing is massive. Also, special thanks to Terry for reaching out to me on Facebook and telling me what you thought about the video. He did a great job. I told him he did on the last video. He actually reached out to me on Facebook telling me he appreciated it. So Terry, if you're watching this, you're welcome, and you did a great job on the final product. I just saw it on this episode. And this day today is the day that Grant officially meets with the appraiser at the building. And then they actually did a slow pan on the building, and in one day they've got all the furniture arranged. They've got, stuff kind of probably pushed off into the corner where nobody can see, because it looks great, guys. In a one-day transformation, it's fantastic. It's exactly what you would hope to have as a business when a evaluator walks in. It's got the neon sign, it's got the paint. They basically took like an old building that was built in the 1800s with a bunch of walls, blew out all the walls, right? And they're like high ceilings, really open, airy space. Like, it looks amazing. You really do have to have a good vision to actually pull something like that off. So congrats to whoever decided to blow out all those walls and paint it, because it came out fabulous. So the valuator comes to the building and he actually sits down with Grant, and Grant is talking to him, and he's like, look, I've got $490,000 worth of contracts in 90 days. And we are on track for about $3.5 million in contracts we anticipate this year alone. And the valuator was very set back because of this. He's looking at Grant and he's like, look, you have no track history. You're a startup company. Statistically, more than 9 out of 10, startup companies do fail. That's statistically, it's like 96%. It's a crazy high number, okay? So statistically, the valuator's already very hesitant. And then Grant says, well, how are you actually evaluating my company, right? And he probably tells something that Grant didn't really want to hear. There's many different ways to evaluate a company, okay? And then one of the ways the valuator said is, we'll take your gross income minus your expenses minus your taxes, and we'll look at your net income, right? And I was like, wow. Talk about the lowest number that you could possibly look at. And that's after all deductions and everything. Like, that number can be, a little screwed with all the deductions, because you can get that number pretty low, especially if you take advantage of the tax system. So, which every business owner should. Okay, so Graham's like, oh, dude, and then other ways you evaluate it is you can look at the gross amounts, okay, and then you can times it by a factor of, say, 6. Okay, so say you did $100,000 a year, and then you could times that by 6, your business would have a valuation of $600,000, that kind of thing, right? Because basically what a valuation is I can say my business is valuated at this. So when I go to sell it one day, you would be willing to pay me, say, $600,000, because you know what you're buying. I have a track record that I can show you, and you're buying basically a running, operating business with cash flow, and you know what your ROI is, your return on investment. That's why evaluations are extremely important in businesses, especially if you want to build them up to one day sell them. And the valuator also told Grant that he might be aggressive in his forecasting, which is not a good sign, because evaluators, they're human, guys. You could have 3 different evaluators, you're most likely to get 3 different valuations. Okay, so if you got a conservative evaluator, it's not going to be good at Grant once the actual number comes across the table. Grant is nervous about this, and he says that the evaluator seems very conservative, and he's not sure about this guy. But you know what? He also didn't get to pick him either, so it's really a luck of the draw. It's almost like rolling a dice. There might be 1 or 2 of them that'll give you fair evaluation. There might be some others that are kind of okay, and there might be some others that are real skeptical. So you really never know. It is really a gamble. There's not a science necessarily to it, because there are many ways to evaluate a company, and they all can be considered right. So it is a little bit of a crapshoot, and obviously whoever Grant or the other 2 Undercover Billionaire people, none of them actually know if they're going to come back with a valuation that's reasonable or realistic in the first place. Okay, so this was a super cool part. He actually flew obviously his plane is jet. He actually flew his family to Pueblo. They get off the plane. It's a very emotional, Daddy, I love you. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you. It's been such a long time. Obviously emotional gathering, as it should be. And he says that he's very, very, very nervous about telling everybody who he actually is, and he's afraid that some of the team members might actually be upset with him. Later at the building, he reveals himself for the very first time. He really had a hard time with this. He did choke up a bit. At first, he tells him his name is not Lewis Curtis, but then instead of just keep going with it and explain, he just pauses, chokes up, stops. I get it, because all the other ones did it too. This is like a normal thing in this scenario, even though it's not a normal scenario. Like, as soon as he says my name is not Lewis Curtis, it was like, and everybody's left hanging there like, what is he about to tell us next? Tells him about the 90-day challenge, tells him he was dropped off with $100, and then, I think this is cool, guys, he pulled the $100 still out of his pocket. He goes, this bill right here, I still haven't spent it, right? And then he also tells Matt that he could not no way have done this challenge without meeting somebody like him. So kudos to Matt, and wake up if you guys are watching this. Matt, you did an awesome job about bringing this whole thing up, working with him, trusting him in the first place, because you're the one that cut the check when probably 99% of the people would not have in the first place, giving him a chance and making everything work out at the end. Of course, everybody was shocked after he said this and did not know how to take this the right way. They were like, do I get upset? Do I listen? Do I cry? Do I run out the door? You know, you can see everybody's face, and they're like, we knew that there was something going on, but are you about to tell us like you're a fraud criminal, or like what in the world is going on here, right? Like you can see it in their face, and it took him a little bit for him to say, my name is Grant Cardone, and maybe someone didn't even know the name. He had to kind of explain. Then he started dropping some big names. You know, I was hanging out with this guy, and everybody's like, oh, really? Okay. And it made it feel a lot more better. Really giving him just more credibility to say, hey, if you don't know who actually Grant Cardone is, let me tell you about my business, let me tell you about the people I know, and really kind of creating a little camaraderie between the people he knows and them, and kind of bringing everybody together, because these people know of these people, but nobody knows of Grant. But if Grant knows these people, then everybody's cool. Kind of get what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird way. Like, if you know so-and-so and I know so-and-so, all of a sudden we're like buds, even though we don't know each other. It works kind of like that. I think it's like a human nature kind of thing. And after a bit of chatting, everybody seemed to be cool with it, on board. Some were calling him Lewis. Some would call him Grant. You know, I thought it was kind of funny because obviously when you've been calling somebody Lewis for the last 90 days and you now just find out their name is Grant, they'll probably continue calling him Lewis for a little while until they can get the hang of it. And then Grant brings in his family to meet everybody at the Wake Up Pueblo building. It's a very emotional kind of, thank you so much for doing this with my husband, and thank you for being so kind and allowing, you know, the business to kind of come up from the ground and working so hard, because nobody can do it by themselves. Grant can't do it by himself. Matt can't do it by himself. The Wake Up Pueblo team can't do it by themselves. Everybody has to work in unison, and that is what this is all about. So the team's very grateful. Grant appreciates everything everybody's been done. And then the evaluation comes in at, we don't know, because that is the next episode. Really, guys, I'm not kidding. I was like, no! I have my pen in my hand, and I'm waiting to write it down, and I'm like on needles. I'm like sitting on the edge, right? And then the evaluator says, he'll check back with Grant in a couple days. So we're not going to hear this week. We don't know. So next week is going to be the official evaluation to see if we hit the $1 million mark or not, and why. And let me know what you guys think of these episodes and my breakdowns. I'm very curious to hear some constructive criticism. Let me know in the comments below. I'm a big boy. Also consider smashing that like button if you like this content, and consider sharing it. If you're not a part of the team already, the Financial Freedom team, I make videos online, several per week, on financial freedom through real estate, so you don't have to work a 9 to 5 until you're 65 unless you want to. Until next time, we will see you on the next one.